The travel and tourism industry has been on a good run, and the hope is that things will continue. The momentum, of course, has been built up. And as we look at the new financial year, which has started, we are already seeing signs of the domestic move strengthening further. Of course, international at this point in time a bit uncertain given the escalation of the trade war. Back home, the big story, of course, emerging is Indigo. It has become the world's most valuable airline with its market cap crossing $23 billion. To talk to us about Indigo's aspiration of being India's first global airline is Pieter Elbers. Pieter, always a pleasure. Many thanks for joining us here on CNBC-TV18. It's great to have you back on the program. Let's start with India and let's start with domestic travel at this point in time. Still looking very, very strong. As we start this new financial year, I know you can't give us specific numbers because you are in your silent period, but what's the mood in the market at this point in time?
Yeah, thank you. Thanks for having me here today. And it's a pleasure to speak to you always. If we look about the development of the domestic market and we take the most recent published official numbers, and as you said, I cannot give any speculation about today's numbers since we're in that silent period. But for both the month of January and February, the DGCA data was released, and both of them actually had an 11% increase, which basically are very, very good numbers. So there was some slowdown at the beginning of 24, around the election time, there was some slowing down, but actually ever since we can see a very solid demand and a very positive development of that demand.
Well, speaking of demand and speaking of positive developments, I'm just taking a look at the numbers. For your summer schedule, 14,158 weekly flights. That's much higher than the 13,050 flights last summer.
Yeah, we keep adding and we keep growing. And for the financial year which is past, we announced a early double-digit growth. We have actually the same outlook for the next year. And for an airline of our size, today we operate a little short of 2,300 flights a day. If you think about that, take a step back, we're welcoming every 3 days 1 million customers. By the time this interview is over, we've welcomed another 7,000. So it just shows that the numbers are there and the numbers continue to grow. So our ambition really is to double towards the end of the decade. That's a long-term projection. But in the meantime, we keep adding these numbers.
Well, speaking of adding numbers, it's what, a plane a week at this point in time? That's the run rate that you're working with?
Yeah, that is still the runway. I mean, the last year, 24, we received 58 aircraft. And, I think it gives a lot of pride to everyone at Indigo and probably India also. The single largest taker of planes on the world, not the region, but the world, was Indigo. So here we are, an 18-year young Indian airline taking the highest number of plane deliveries from anywhere in the world, 58 planes. That means more than one a week we had last year. And our ambition is actually to continue that growth path well into the next decade.
Well, I know it doesn't directly impact Indigo, but let me ask you about what you make of China's decision not to order Boeing jets any longer. We don't know whether that will eventually happen or not, but how do you see that development?
That entire discussion today around the tariffs and that US China development, especially when it comes to aircraft. I think the world today is in need of having multiple suppliers when it comes to aircraft, and clearly Boeing and Airbus being the two largest. So I would assume that the resolution is found one way or the other at that point in time.
But speaking of finding a resolution for the capacity constraints that you're faced with, you are continuing to lease aircraft. You've just leased 4 more from Norseal. What's the plan on that front, especially as you have these big global ambitions?
Well, the Indian market is growing at a great rate. Despite our large order book, still some of the global supply chain challenges are really affecting us when it comes to delivering the capacity. So ever since this started to occur 3 years ago, we have taken a whole range of mitigating measures in terms of extending leases, getting temporary planes, doing some damp leases. All these things have really helped us to live up to our capacity guidance. Now we have ordered the wide bodies, so we have 27. The first wide bodies are coming in, and actually we don't want to wait for that. So as a bridging until that time, we started to damp lease 787s from Norseal.
So does this give me a sense that the decision to not wait for the wide bodies and actually go in for leases is a way for you to accelerate and speed up your international expansion plans?
It surely is. The market is there. A lot of Indian travelers today don't have the opportunity to travel either direct or travel on an Indian operator. I think by us providing that capacity, there's an opportunity for people to start flying direct, or to, we have announced Manchester is going to be the first direct connection from Delhi into Manchester. That's great, both for the people in Delhi and actually India, and the people in Manchester. Amsterdam is the other destination we'll be starting adding, and there's more to come. And
so what more can we expect, at least as far as this financial year is concerned? How many more destinations do you intend to add?
Well, we will have the number of Norse planes going up from 1 to 4 in this year. We will start with the XLR. That's a very important development for Indigo. That will allow us to further stretch the range. We haven't disclosed yet which destination, which number, but let me share the following number with you to get a bit of an indication. When I joined Indigo 3 years back, we had like 25-ish international destinations. Today we're 40. And Fujairah has been announced as number 41. So that is in the time span of less than 3 years.
You've doubled.
We pretty much doubled.
Yeah.
And of course, there's an end to, you cannot endlessly double it. But India was so largely underserved, and the demand for the Indian consumers, ranging it from Karabi in Thailand to the Middle East to Europe, is just massive.
So coming back to specifics now, in terms of your international ambitions, because when we last spoke, you said you want to make Indigo India's global airline. So in the near term, what does that mean in terms of the number of people that you will fly on your international operations? What does that also mean in terms of your margins and change of margin profile?
The Indigo International Network, Shereen, is started some years back, very traditional, if you wish, between India and the Gulf and the Middle East countries. We've been slowly expanding that. So in 23, we started flights into Central Asia. We started flights into Nairobi. We have moved, and I had a meeting earlier this week with the CEO of Changi Airport. We moved from moving into Singapore from 3 Indian cities to 9 today. But that's still within that 5 to 6 hour radius. I think the next step for Indigo is to make sure that even Europe and further parts of Asia would be accessible, directly operated by Indigo. And, if India is going to be the 3rd largest economy in the world by 27, the country needs and deserves actually an airline of the size and scale and potential of the nation.
So what is the indication and the timeline that you're working with in terms of the wide-body deliveries because of the backlog that we're dealing with?
Just some numbers here. Today, we have ordered 30 wide bodies. The delivery start from 27. We don't want to wait for that. That's why we have the temporary bridging. We used to have around 25% of our available seat kilometers international. This year, we're reaching 30, and we've put a projection out there to move that percentage up to 40%. So the foundation of who we are as Indigo will remain strongly and deeply rooted in India. We operate a little short of 500 routes in India itself, direct city pairs. That's the foundation of who we are, and that continue to be. Out of that 500, pretty much half of them are unique. So that provides suddenly air connectivity, connecting the nation, giving wings to the nation. But on top of that, that international dimension is being built. And 40% is the number which we put out there. 40%
is the number. We're still waiting for your results to be announced, which will be sometime in May, so you can't give us specifics. But the street is working with estimates as far as what profitability for you could look like. It's been 9 quarters on the trot, with the exception of 1 quarter of positive bottom line for you. At this point in time, given where crude prices are and have come up very, very sharply, as well as demand, you're looking at significant tailwinds, I would imagine, aren't you?
Well, I think in another configuration, one would call that a leading question. As you rightfully pointed out, we're in a silent period, so I cannot give any indication of guidance.
Don't talk to me about numbers. But
looking back to what we have done, and I'm very proud what the Indigo teams really have achieved. In the middle of 22, we were exiting from COVID, and I remember joining at that point in time. We made a sort of small profit, but was very meaningful because it was actually, the dark days of COVID were behind us, and we started to emerge from that. And ever since, we have been building not only our network, our customer proposition, our profiling, but actually creating the margins to start investing in the future of the company. If you want to become a global airline, we should have a service, IT, digital tools, all centered around that.
So what does that mean in terms of investments over the next few years, whether it's on IT, whether, I mean, we know what it is going to cost you as far as the aircraft is concerned, but, you know, just building out the ecosystem to be able to deliver to the promise that you've just articulated, what will it mean in terms of investments?
Well, there's going to be serious investments, and obviously fleet is the largest part of it. Next to fleet, it's people. You know, this is the training center, and really very important part of Indigo is the people we have. It's also very much all our investments in digital. We start to invest heavily in AI. You know, we were a bit behind that, but if India is home, we should invest to that, and we should actually lead that. So we have our own sort of AI center now building and working.
Is there a number, you know, that you can share in terms of what you've invested so far on AI?
I don't have a number of crores, but it's multiple crores. Obviously, we're investing in that. And last but not least, it's not only our own investment, but also partnerships. So as recent as last week, we signed up a big partnership with Accor. So it's the first of its kind in India. And basically what we will be having now, that all our blue chip members can start using their points in staying in Accor hotels. And Accor members can using their points in flying Indigo. Accor is present in all our 40 international destinations. So what does it mean for an Indian consumer? You fly a lot domestic, you use your points to either fly with us international or have your hotel in Bangkok or Dubai or Singapore, wherever you go, and use the Accor hotel.
So, you know, Accor is one of the partners that you've signed up as far as the Blue Chip loyalty program is concerned. I just saw that you've announced a partnership with Swiggy today as well. So, you know, as you look at building out this partnership ecosystem, what should we look forward to next?
No, I think the philosophy here is we'll have a couple of leading partners in different spaces, and building an ecosystem is exactly what the word is. So it will have, you know, Accor is clearly such a great global hotel brand that we sign up with that one, and then probably we have a couple of smaller ones. Swiggy is a very different notion, but also helping us to build that ecosystem, and especially in the high speed of India, you know, the speed of having partners adding it, that I think Indigo is very well placed to participate in that boom.
Let's talk about Indigo Stretch, which is, of course, the business class offering and part of the premiumization strategy as far as Indigo is concerned. What's the response been like? I mean, you launched in November, so it's well over 6 months at this point in time. You've gone from Delhi now to Mumbai, Chennai, Bangalore. What can we expect in terms of Indigo Stretch?
Yeah. Maybe first to address one point, you said the premiumization strategy. I wouldn't call it the premiumization strategy. What we have is that very foundation. So we have a little short of 500 domestic routes. We'll have 10 out of those 500 having this stretch product. So we're basically adding a product on top of what we have. And then even on those 10 routes, if we take Delhi, Mumbai, there's 20 flights a day. There's a plane has 220 seats, 12 of them are premium, and all the rest is economy. But it's very important for us because it starts to prepare for the next phase for international, start to prepare for our corporates. Delhi, Mumbai was the first route to start. That one has been received very, very well. The reviews we get on social media from customers, emails, whatever, is very, very positive. It's a tailor-made product.
Yeah.
It's very much geared to what we have. You know, for example, we have now all these flights there and people just love it. So Delhi, Mumbai is doing well. It started, it's in full operation. Delhi, Bangalore is just recently completed its full 14 daily flights are now all being accommodated. We have Chennai launched, and Hyderabad is the next one to be on the list.
Yeah, and so the planes that you're getting in, the one a week that comes in, all will have these 12 stretch seats.
Yes, Shereen. So we have taken a decision to have 45 of these aircraft with stretch. We started in November last year, each and every plane. So pretty much every Monday a new plane comes in, sometimes on Friday. But, you know, we have these planes coming in, and every new plane comes in, we put it on the route immediately. So the incubation period, if you want to call it like that, for us is like 12 months, and then all these routes should be in operation, which is incredible speed.
With speed and efficiency, and let's talk about efficiency and where you believe you can draw out more efficiency at this point in time to try and give you a further bump up as far as margins are concerned. I mean, you continue to be the market leader, well over 60% share at this point in time. What else do you believe that you can do to squeeze out more from the business to juice it out even further?
I think Indigo has developed and optimized its processes in a formidable way. The 3-point disembarkation, the turnarounds of planes, the efficiency of the processes, in an environment with sometimes capacity constraints, airports in renovation, air traffic control. So it's the weather. It has a lot of challenges. Despite that, I think Indigo has optimized that. So that's where small innovations like adding a third ramp is helpful. I think the next breakthrough really is going to be in the field of digital, where a lot of information to our customers could be further digitized, could be further optimized. Self-rebooking tool, if there's bad weather, why should we rebook your flight? You may want to do it yourself. You choose yourself. So there's a lot of these processes in the works where we really believe that that's the next level of optimization.